Welcome to the second game between Axiom and the Joey FlashWolves. To the top left we have the second player for the FlashWolves. It is another Zerg. Linok got defeated in the first game and now it's time for Ian to succeed where the Korean couldn't. Starting to the bottom right of King Sejong Station, our second map here in the best of 9, we have Crank who wants to crank it up a little bit with game number 1 and a victory against Linok. He already put the first point onto the scoreboard for his team and he can of course maybe take down Ian here as well. I was talking earlier a little bit about Ian and Has, the two strong players that the FlashWolves have in the lineup. Of course with like the strong Taiwanese players I should say, because everybody knows San and Linok, the two Koreans that they have in their roster. But Ian, very good results just recently and actually like for quite some time now. The same can be said about Has. So interestingly enough we have Ian now as the next player. So far we do not see San. I haven't seen him in the lobby either. I'm not quite sure if he's going to play there. But we have at this point the Forge started with a Forge opening for Crank. He could cannon. He could cannon and he might actually just do that. Moving out with a probe immediately, you have to do, of course, do that. You want to know the pool timings. And as it happens, Ian is not getting baited here. He's not going into an early expansion. Instead, he starts things off with a pool. Should be absolutely safe against everything and anything. And yeah, let's see. We have him with the scout in the main, is going to see the pool, and the timing for the pool is pretty normal, so he doesn't have to go for a pylon in his main base and then go for, yeah, maybe a cannon there. So just in case that you're a little bit unfamiliar with this opening, if you open with the pylon on the low ground and want to go in a Forge into Nexus, what we see here, what usually... Whoa! Misplacing the Nexus and has to cancel it. That was annoying. That's already quite some money lost. But yeah, coming back to my train of thought, so if you actually want to do that, what you usually see is the Protoss player. There we go. Moving out with a probe that built the Forge and then heading over to the top left. The reason is actually quite simple. If you see an early pool by your opponent, like in 7 pool, 9 pool, anything along those lines, you want to go into your main base and drop a pylon so that you can then build a cannon before the lings are there and defend your mineral line. As an alternative, you can, in a situation like this, try to build a cannon somewhere here, pull probes, block the ramp, and when the Zerglings run up, the cannon starts attacking them. So that's like the second option. It depends a lot on the map what you can do there, but this is one of the main reasons why you will always see the Protoss player with the Forge opening move out with a probe. And of course you always get the chance to cannon your opponent's expansion if he goes into a hatch first, which is pretty yeah, nasty against the Zerg player. Talking about Zerg 420 in the game, we have 3 bases already for Ian, so going straight for that. That's basically what you do as a Zerg if you are up against an opponent that starts with a Forge. You throw down that third hatch around 4 minutes or 420, and then you'll find yourself in a very good position since the Protoss player can't really attack you early on, because with the Forge being built first, it delays of course your gateway since you don't have the resources this early. Therefore the cybernetics core is delayed, and that means the warp in technology is delayed, and that's, yeah, that just causes you to lose so much time as a Protoss player that you cannot really hit that sweet spot timing, or your opponent just doesn't have enough just yet if he goes for an early third. That's kind of the trade-off that you have here. So just a little bit StarCraft ZVP 1-on-1 for the newcomers amongst us, and for now we have gas taken here by Ian. It's gonna be the speed for the Zerglings, of course, the double Overlord in position, scouting everything that's going on here. This one is gonna get the hell out of dodge because he knows with the cybernetics core finishing up there could be a stalker or a sentry being built, and he wants to avoid this at all costs. The probe on the map, it's still scouted and immediately chased by a Zergling, so nothing like too fancy happening just yet. Ian making sure that he has there's no additional probe there. You want to know if there's a probe on the map, just because if there is a pylon at some point, you want to know it. You want to know where that pylon is. You want to make sure that you can take it down with the Zerglings so that there's no warp in point for your opponent. Looking at the Star Gate, we have right now the tech also in the game for Crank and Stargate, means that we are gonna see most likely Phoenixes. Oracle would be a possibility, but the Phoenix build is much more common. It's actually the Oracle after all, so most players, I actually don't think I have seen an early Oracle against Zerg this, yeah, in the last week. Maybe 1 or 2 games at Copenhagen games, but most Protoss players went straight into Phoenixes again. Both are viable. The Phoenix build maybe the more stable one, but let's see how well Ian can defend against this, because so far he doesn't have Spore Crawlers. It's a single queen per hatch against what we see coming from a Crank. And actually, the Oracle, if he dodges the Overlord, could do a ton of damage here. Could not only take down the Queen, but also a lot of Harvesters. I actually think that Ian is leaving himself a lot of time here. Now the Overlord goes in the main base and is going to see that tech, but also actually doesn't see the tech. Alright, it's not scouted. The Oracle moves in now, and that means that he's just going to take the Harvester down. He could go for the Queen as well if he wanted to, but this is going to get quite some kills racked up for Crank. Ian with a little bit of a lackluster defense. I have to say that, yeah, Crank could maybe have done even a little bit more damage than that, but no Spore Crawler still. I mean, what exactly is Ian doing here? He's just droning up once again, but he is completely foregoing defenses. He's going straight into the Hydra den and says like, yep, I don't need Spore Crawlers, which is a very interesting statement. The Roaches that are streaming across the map, I don't see them doing too much here. If you have just a few of them, that's not going to help you against the Mothership Core, potential Photon Overcharge, cannon behind the wall, and also 2 sentries. So if he really wants to attack with this, it's never going to happen. I guess it's just like the force that is sent out to make sure that the third base is not being built by Crank right away. But now we have even the Void Ray in the game, and with the Void Ray we have now no chance for those Roaches to do anything whatsoever. As far as I can tell, on the other hand, that Oracle didn't really do a whole lot after what we saw initially. So trying to get into an additional position to do even more damage, spotted already by the Roaches. But as I said earlier, there is still nothing. And Crank, I don't think that Crank realizes this. Because if he did, I think he would be much more aggressive with the Oracle. The Oracle could have done so much damage. It actually is about to lose it here, only 1 hit point. Oracle has so much damage potential in this game and only 5 kills against someone who doesn't even get Spore Crawlers. To be absolutely honest, if this is all that Crank does with his Stargate in terms of harass, the lack of Spore Crawlers is absolutely paying off for Ian. Think about how much, like the Oracle is 5 kills, that's 250 minerals and that's mining time loss. The Spore Crawlers on the other hand cost you 3 drones if you get 1 per mineral line, and then the cost for the Spore Crawlers itself. So that is very well worth it for Ian, with Crank playing kind of passive against this and not trying to do any additional damage with the Oracle or with the follow-up with Phoenixes. Ian is in a great position actually. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I really thought that Crank would try to capitalize on this a lot more. 66 against 68 Harvesters at this point. 3 base against 3 base. We have Hydras coming in, and also the Spire has started. So most likely just going to be for the potential Corruptors in case that there is going to be a commitment to Colossi, which we will most likely see a little bit later on the road. For now, Ian seems to be a bit hesitant about what he's going to do here. Crank is at 120 supply, but he has a very decent position here. The army supply is heavily in favor of Ian, of course, with 66 against 48, but we still have the +3 attack upgrade, for example, by research, whereas we do not see any upgrades for Ian. So he has a completely unupgraded army. He's taking another base over here, moving in with the Oracle once again, while the Zerg player is attacking his back door, trying to take down the debris here. Killing those rocks would allow him to go up that ramp, or at least attempting to, but I don't think he's really gonna do it, just because how would he? I mean, there's so many force fields, it would be absolute suicidal to try and make that work. At this point, I just don't see Ian doing anything with this. He has a strong force on the map, but I don't think he has the angle that he needs to really do damage with it. It's just something where he has the map presence to secure himself that 4th base, but really doing something with this, I just don't see it happening. Still no additional kills with Crank's Oracle here. We have Ian also going straight into, well, he's starting the first upgrades with the Evolution Chamber, but we have him, despite the Spire, also with the Infestation Pit, allows him to tech into Hive, but could also go for Swarm Host if he really wants to go for it. 2-3 Mutalisks, that's an interesting composition that he's going for right now. We have 8 Corruptors and 3 Mutalisks, so apparently he wants to switch into air. The only reason why that surprises me a little bit is because we have him with a heavy gas commitment up to this point into Hydras and also Roaches, and that delayed the entire tech that he's cranking out now quite significantly. But if you think about it, against a single Stargate, he can do a lot with the Mutalisk, and as soon as the Phoenixes come into play, he can use those Corruptors to really shield them. So it's an interesting approach here that Ian goes for, and Crank doesn't really know what's going on. The War Prism is also not doing any damage. It just seems a little bit like Crank is, I don't really want to call it too passive, but he doesn't really find any openings that he can exploit. Or at least when he finds them, he doesn't exploit them. I mean, talking about the Oracle again, I feel like he could have done a lot more with that because there weren't even Spore Crawlers, but I don't think he really realized that in time. So he did only get 5 kills, and as we talked about already earlier, it kind of pays off for Ian not getting these structures. So we have the Hive Tech now started as well, speed upgrade here too. We have a few hallucinated Phoenixes over here, another one right over there. Still looking for that Warp Prism, if it's going to do something. The tech has been spotted, and therefore we have the double Stargate, even on the pylon, just in case, so that this one cannot easily be taken out by his opponent. We have the Corruptors on the way. Where are all those Mutalisks? There they are, starting to attack here. Resources lost, as you can see, very, very little. The Oracle was finally biting the dust, but the Zerg player lost a bit more than his opponent. It's just like the economy that we see here for Ian that is very solid. But the same can be said of Crank. He had that early 3rd base, and he also goes into a 4th right now. We have him with the first Phoenixes build. So the unique composition that we have here for Ian is one that you don't see every day. Roach, Hydra, Corruptor, Mutalisk is a very interesting approach. Only for Mutalisks on the other hand. 8 Corruptors, and how is... I think if Crank overcommits to something, then he might fall into the trap of just reacting to the wrong unit composition. But so far, he's just securing himself this 4th base very solidly. Range upgrade for the Colossi is nearly completed. He has only 1 though. It's an interesting game that we see here. Very interesting one. With both of them hesitating a little bit. I love Crank's commitment to cannons, by the way. I really love it. A lot of Protoss players will be a little bit too cheap and will be like, oh, I can't afford it, no, it's so expensive. But in the end, if you lose like 10 harvesters to your opponent's Mutalisks, those cannons are really a cheap bargain. Harassment everywhere by Crank right now. That Warp Prism paying off, and also another run by, as you could see, towards the 3rd base of his opponent. So really forcing Ian back and allowing Crank to take that 4th base. Gives himself the time to just go for additional Colossi for upgrades as well. The +3 upgrade is already through quite some time. The snipe on the Hive didn't really work out here, but at least he got 23 harvesters in the process. So he was doing quite a lot of damage to the economy and putting the worker count for Ian down to 67 against 72. But 17 Zealots lost over the course of this engagement. So we have the Warp Prism is still there and can still do some damage, but if you look at the resources lost there, well, Crank is ahead. But especially with the gas, Crank has a decent spot here. 2 and 3 only here in the extractor. Don't think it's going to matter too much in the long run, but that's definitely a bit of an oversight here. That's a mistake and not on purpose. We have even now the Fleet Beacon started and the Dark Shrine. I mean, Crank is getting every tech in the book now because he says like, well, I have a 4-base economy and you're on 4 bases as well. I can do whatever I want. And let's see when you are going to attack. Here comes the next tech, Templar Archive. It's the tag into everything, like the catch-all build. And both of them are just now racking up bang. We have Ian already with 4,000, 2,000. But in terms of army supply, they are dead even. They're really dead even here, even with the worker supply, it's very much the same. That Warp Prism is once again going to the main base, and first of all the distraction with the mass hallucinated Phoenix, and then as the Zealots running in, that Spore Crawler is a little bit too late to achieve anything here. I'm not even sure why exactly he builds it. There goes the Queen. We have also another set of units running over to that 3rd, and once more Ian is forced to move back. He takes the 5th base here, but the Zealots in his main are already doing so much damage. The Harvester count now, well, Harvesters killed 29, 30 by now, and he might get eventually this Hive. Not with this force, but later on he might get the chance to do that. We have more Zealots over here at the 3rd base, and let's see if that Warp Prism, yep, it's still there. The first few Phoenixes that we see in the game are now chasing Overlords and taking them out one by one. I think that Ian is kind of starting to lose his grip on this match a little bit. At the beginning he had a very, very, very strong position, but now he doesn't really know what to do, it seems. He wants apparently to go into a late tech into Broodlords. Not the worst decision here, but the problem still is that we have a double Stargate already, and if Crank sees that, and he should, given how much he scans these scouts with the Phoenix hallucinations, he should actually be able to get the Tempests out, and there they are. Tempests have been started, range upgrade for the Phoenixes. We have also the Templar Archive. The DTs are still moving in. Templar Archive going for the Storm, of course. Crank is just doing everything that he can. It's an absolutely solid performance by him, and he doesn't leave himself open to anything. And Ian, I don't know what he can do. He's trying to trade away a few roaches here and wants to go for a better, army, I guess. Nice move here, taking down that pylon. Might be able to kill a bit of the tech here and get these going to the main base. might have just considered to kill that Robo, but for now it's the DT defense. Crank is being forced to move back as well, blinks in and takes down the roaches at the natural. At the main base, we have a few harvesters being taken out by the second roach force already. And the DT is still in the main of Ian, not really doing anything on the other hand. But yeah, both of them very, very hesitant to commit. They don't want to expose themselves too much. We are already 20 minutes into the game, and we have now the 5th base being built here, whereas Crank says like, well, the least thing I can do is take down an hatch here, and that he will of course achieve, or he should be able to do that. Maybe? No, he's gonna get it. Ha! Look at that! 30 hit points left. Didn't get it after all. Nice. But he might with a next round of warp-ins, and then he can also try to go for the hive take if he really wants to, and take that down. But it's time for Crank to attack. He's a little bit fed up with this. Ian with a nice bang, but so is Crank. All those hallucinated Colossi really paying off there. The first target for all of those Corruptors, and suddenly the anti-air is gone, and 2 of those Colossi are still alive. So with that, he can do a lot of damage here, and Crank is moving in. Ian is losing his foothold, whereas we have another set of units attacking over at this base. That's mainly the Phoenixes trying to take down Overlords. But really, really well done here so far. Resources lost now heavily in favor of Crank, and Ian had to spend his entire bank. Like, think about what we saw just before this attack. Both of them were roughly at 4,000 up here at the top. Now Ian lost everything. He just tries to tech transition out of this, and that's definitely a smart move. He has a lot of Mutalisks right now, and that Mutalisk swarm is going to do a lot of damage. There's 44 Mutalisks. It's absolutely insane. But there are cannons everywhere, and keep in mind that with a recall he could always get those Stalkers back into the main base, and we have 24 of them. So right now it's also about the Phoenixes that he has. It's only, well, it's not too many Phoenixes though. That's the problem that he has here, and those 2 Stargates are going to be attacked very, very soon. So we have Crank starting to move back. The Lings are already running in here at Crank's natural, and Crank apparently without the Mothership Core. Yeah, he doesn't have it. It has been sniped earlier, and that means that he cannot recall. He has no recall available, so I was wrong earlier. He cannot use that, and we have triple Stargate now being built for him. Ian just with a counter aggression here and trying to use his mobile force now. But with all those cannon, it's going to get a little bit tricky, especially if those Stalkers are able to blink in. Not quite yet, but nice zoning out at least with the Tempest. More Unix in the main base, and these 2 have never been taken out, so the Phoenix count is going to explode for Crank once he gets those additional 3 Stargates into play. He has the resources to build them, it's just a matter of time, and it looks like time is what he has. The Immortals are taking down this base here, easy peasy, like 3 lone Immortals, there's nothing to stop them. Another set of units already attacking the 5th. Crank is taking Ian apart here. He's like a surgeon wielding a scalpel right now. He's everywhere on the map, taking down base after base and key structure after key structure. Crank might be supply blocked, and that will not allow him to get as many Phoenixes into the game as he would like to, but he has 6 already, and with the range upgrade they will give those Mutalisks quite a run for their money, especially if they are also of course shielded by Stalkers and a few Tempests. And he's of course not going to stop at 6 here. He knows that he only has to defeat the Mutalisks, and then he has won the game. So he's just going to wait a little bit and get more Phoenixes and then go for it. 5 being built at a time right now, and he has still nearly 4,000 minerals and 2,000 gas, so it's not like he's gonna run out of resources anytime soon. And Ian, well, Ian is just waiting to die here. He can't engage against what we have. The Mutalisks are on +2 attack upgrade. The ground army for our Protoss player is on 1 armor, 3 attack and 2 shields. And here come the Phoenixes already, and the Phoenixes number 14 by now. This is checkmate. The army supply might be similar. We might see both of them in a situation where you think they would make something work here, but it's just a checkmate situation. It's like, it's just a composition that we have here that absolutely does not work. Like, you can't win this if you're Ian. At least you cannot win the fight against the army. You might be able to just run around and do some damage, but the mobility is something that you don't have anymore if your opponent has already nearly 20 Phoenixes. Another base down, and now it's just time for the final fight. He's microing his Phoenixes here, taking down his opponent one by one. Another Storm hitting home, hitting a lot of Protoss units here as well. But Ian, he just can't do anything, and he types GG as 44 Mutalisks, but he knows he cannot engage with them. It's just checkmate. This was Crank maneuvering the entire time, checkmating his opponent. A great performance by Crank in game number 2, and he brings Axiom in a 2-0 lead versus the Joey FlashWolves.